Hello and welcome to Folklore Facts Episode 1, The Headless Horseman. Being that this is the first episode, I want to explain what it is. Basically, I take a creepy folklore story, look into its history, and see different similarities with other stories, and also if it has any truth to it. The most popular form of this story is from the American writings of Washington Irving, published in 1819. In this telling of the story, it takes place in the Dutch settlement in New York known as Sleepy Hollow in the 1790s. The main character in the tale is Ichabod Crane, who is a local schoolteacher. The Headless Horseman is said to have once been a Hessian soldier who had his head shot off by a cannonball during the Revolutionary War. It is said in this telling that he haunts the area of Sleepy Hollow, and he frequents the church where it is said he was buried in an attempt to find his head. In this story, Ichabod falls in love with a wealthy woman named Katrina Van Tassel, who is also being courted by the town hero named Brom Van Brunt. Brom has scared away many of Katrina's past love interests and set his sights on Ichabod, but all his attempts fail. One night after a party, Ichabod leaves to go home and is soon chased by the headless specter, but it is said that the horseman has his head resting on his saddle this time. Ichabod makes it to the bridge at the town's entrance that is said the horseman can't cross. When he turns around, he sees the horseman throw his head at him, knocking Mr. Crane off of his horse. The next day, the townsfolk find Ichabod's horse and hat, but he himself is gone. It is at this point that many think Brom played the horseman, but others state that Ichabod was captured by the specter. As I stated, this is the most popular story, but it is not the first story of its kind. The brothers Grimm recalled similar sightings found in German folklore. A woman from Dresden enters the forest one Sunday morning to gather acorns. Once she arrived at the area known as Lost Waters, she heard a hunting horn blast. When she turned around, she saw a headless rider dressed in gray, sitting on a gray horse. In this version, the horseman is known as the Wild Huntsman, and will blow a horn warning other hunters that if they ride the next day, an accident will happen. The idea of this ghost is more of a grim reaper, and is often seen hunting down vicious criminals, in many cases having a pack of basically hellhounds with them. In the Celtic stories, the horseman is seen as a headless fairy known as a Dullahan, or Dark Man. With these legends, the horseman takes on the most terrifying presence out of all of them. The horseman, as well as his horse sometimes, are said to be headless, and the rider carries his head with him and uses it to see greater distances. The head is said to be rotten, but the eyes are black and darting around looking for something, and is said to have a permanent grin that stretches literally ear to ear. The Dullahan pulls a wagon behind him made of dried human skin and bones, and as a weapon he utilizes a human spine for a whip. No locks or gates can stop him when he rides, for they will just magically open at his approach. It is said that wherever he stops riding, that is the exact spot where someone will die. All the Dullahan has to do is call out a person's name and they will die immediately. In this tale, he doesn't like being watched and will either throw blood on any onlookers or will use his whip to strike and blind the person's eyes. No matter how he chooses to deal with someone watching him, it is said that they are then marked to be the next person to die. In order to hinder the Dullahan's ride of death, the story states that he is frightened of gold. If anything gold is placed in the way of this rider of death, he will turn around and run away, even if it is as small as a pin. So at this point you may be wondering, so how did these stories start, and are they based at all in real events? Starting with the Dullahan, it is popularly believed that it is the embodiment of the Celtic fertility god named Crom Dubh. This god was worshipped until the 6th century, and it was common practice to offer the god a human sacrifice each year by decapitation. It is said once Christianity took hold, the god took the physical form of Dullahan, looking for his own sacrifices. With Washington Irving's story, a lot of the characters and places actually existed. The town of Sleepy Hollow is said to be what was known as North Tarrytown. In 1996, the town adopted the name Sleepy Hollow in honor of being found in the pages of the book. The bridge, as well as the church, are popular locations found in the town. The cemetery at the church houses Irving's graves, as well as the real Van Tassel family. It is said that the character of Ichabod Crane was a conglomerate of two people. Mr. Irving met a Marine and Army officer by the name of Ichabod Crane while at Fort Pike in New York. While Ichabod in the story is pretty much a scaredy cat, this real person by the same name was quite the opposite. It is said that Washington Irving's friend, Jesse Merwin, brought the personality to the Crane character since he was a teacher as well as being a bit timid. During the late 1700s, the area was known for having Hessian Jagers, who were German mercenaries for the British Army. These men were known for being ruthless as well as being sharpshooters and expert riders. The townsfolk didn't care for them very much and made many stories of them being portrayed as monsters. It is said that a Hessian soldier was found headless and was buried in an unmarked grave in a church cemetery by a local family. I couldn't find much about the German folk tales, but I do know that Washington was originally going to name his book The Wild Huntsman, since he pulled much of his tale from the German myths about him. To this day, the Headless Horseman is a character found in TV shows such as Sleepy Hollow, to video games like in Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. A form of him as the Dullahan is found in the Dragon Quest game series and other games too numerous to mention. So next time you run across one of the forms of this ghostly spirit in your television show or video game, you will know a little bit more about him. On a side note, I wanted to state that this topic was actually mentioned to me by one of my subscribers. Sadly, my notes telling me who it was got lost when I upgraded to Windows 10, and I couldn't find it while searching my comment section. I'm fairly certain I know who it was, but I don't want to falsely give credit to someone who didn't suggest this. I feel terrible about this, and I promise you that if in the comment section you tell me who you were, I will add you as a special thank you in my next video. So with that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.